Let's get into the scoring criteria. Obviously, we have 4. The execution criteria, we call it. Control, fluidity, and technique. Style and creativity. That's its own standalone category on a scale of 1 to 10. No relationship to line score. There they are. Your 4 criteria. There's Guerlain Chechery, one of the best in the business. Let's go over these. Control. The ultimate loss of control, this. We don't want to see this. Competitors must be in control at all times. Obviously falling, crashing, speed issues like that can affect this category. Types of things that are going to affect your scorecard: backslaps, control and technique. Backslaps, we don't like them because they can break you. They can hurt the skier. Hip checks, not advisable. We like to see skiers land on their skis. That's kind of a technique. It may work sometimes on deep powder snow, but there's rocks under snow. So we really want skiers to make decisions that allow them to land on their feet. Spin outs, twin tip syndrome, I call it. We're seeing more athletes rolling down, skiing with their knuckles pointed at the ground. They got these rockered skis. They lean back a little bit on their landing, and all of a sudden, whoop, they're upside down. Skis over your head, that's a crash. If you're seeing the bases of skis and people are tumbling, those are crashes. What does this do to your scorecard? This. Let's say you were on a 6 line. You get a crash where somebody tumbled, spun around a couple times but got back up and kept skiing. Okay, yeah, he's still moving. He's not picking up his gear, but he lost ultimate control. Maybe not so bad in fluidity because he's still moving now, but he was crashing and he wasn't skiing anymore. And then, of course, technique and control kind of go hand in hand. And it wasn't great style. So this is what we'd like to see on a scorecard if somebody's crashing pretty good. Obviously, if they lose their gear, they're hiking up to get their stuff, don't be afraid to throw a bunch of 1s on there. This isn't to be mean or disrespectful to these athletes. It makes our job easier as judges. It creates separation and eliminates any unnecessary issues at the end of the day. We don't want to be in the business of scoring or judging crashes. So we just try to make it simple. Fluidity. Fluidity is my favorite. Everybody knows what they like to see in a big mountain run, and they like to see skiers moving, flowing, transitioning from one crux to the next. Good continuity, a good pace. Really smooth. The key to having a fluid run, obviously, is a good inspection. That these skiers have actually had a chance to look at this venue. They know their run. It's calculated. It's very thought out. That's going to give them a good fluid run. And I think fluidity is what we really want to press on with these athletes. Avoiding them from getting into too technical of areas where the skiing really stops. It gets really stagnant and they're kicking around in the bushes. They need to find lines that flow through cruxes and move to the next. Things that obviously are going to affect fluidity: stopping. I like to call extreme kick turns our fluidity issues, where they get into a steep area and kick their skis around. They're facing the wrong way or something. Traversing instead of turning. Moving across the mountain with no real big goal. If they took the whole venue to just go over and jump off a 2-foot air, they should have just kept skiing fall line. Obviously, crashes affect fluidity because you've just stopped. And equipment recovery, they can't have very fluid equipment recovery because we're judging them on skiing. And obviously, TDQs. And TDQs come in the sense of they time disqualified. We make sure that the starter knows that there's a time limit, 2-3 minutes, depending on the venue. If they take too much time picking up their gear, they TDQ. Saves us time, move on to the next skier. And then there's technique, the last of the execution criteria. Competitors need to have and show solid turn quality. We want to see carving, driving the ski, using the edges, forward in the boots, revealing to us their fundamental technical background. But we want skiing that's going to be strong, sound, as it relates to big mountain free skiing. We will see sometimes young skiers coming out of the park that don't have the techniques to, say, self-arrest if something all of a sudden goes out the window. If you fall in some of these areas on our venues, there's not a lot of room to recover. You fall in a terrain park, you slide around on your back, spin around a couple times, get back up. Not in our case. So that's what we really need to hammer, is that we're looking for solid sound technique. Solid sound technique. Obvious issues that affect this criteria: flailing, things that don't look good, hands waving in the air. I got knuckles down, hands back, riding in the back seat. These are just obvious technique issues that we really want to let these athletes know. And we want to let them know in a positive way. We don't want to put negative comments about their skiing. We want to encourage them. We want to reward them, give them constructive criticism on their technique. And remind these athletes also, good technique means good equipment. We don't want to see athletes out there on poor equipment. They need to check their bindings, their DINs, make sure their helmet's buckled before they leave the gate. Simple things that I've seen happen a million times. So yeah, you lose a ski, that can be a technical issue. And of course, back slaps, hip checks, poor technique. Now, fourth is our new standalone category. It's style and creativity. This category represents the trick execution and the overall delivery of the run. It's not directly related to line. It's a 1 to 10 scale on impression. Things like this: good style. This person's showing kind of a creative move off this terrain nugget. This is where, in the style and creativity category, we can give him a good number. If he did that a couple of times, maybe he's going to get like a 7 or something. So if they're spinning, if they're doing 360s, they're doing corked moves, inverts, that's where we're going to really recognize the trick. If we don't see any tricks, this is also a category where we can look at the overall delivery of the run. How creative was it? Did they go at part of the terrain at a different direction, kind of a different line, something we didn't see before that impresses us? That's where we can reward this type of execution. With all of this, we don't want to forget there are the good, there are the bad, and there are the stupid. You don't want to be going too fast for conditions. We need to make sure these athletes understand there is a time and a place for an aggressive move. Though it's not a category, it's part of a person's technique. It's a part of their skiing. Going too fast above exposure that's making you, the judges, nervous, you know it, you feel it, that's not good. Taking air that's too large for conditions, jumping on hard pack days, or too big for their ability. They're not a good skier, and you see them rolling into a very exposed area when you're going, hey, wait a minute. Skiers need to consider their consequences of losing control. It's vital to their health, their safety, and it's really important to the integrity of our sport and what people perceive of our game. So as judges, we need to be positive on this and make sure skiers understand. Be wise, make good decisions, give Witherspoon a high five,